Today we're going to put new brake shoes in the rear brakes of the CRF80, and my son Aiden, say hi Aiden. Aiden's going to help me do this because this is basically his bike to ride, and we don't want him learning how to ride a gear bike with a clutch, with a manual clutch, and not have any brakes. So first step we're going to do is we're going to get the bike up on some blocks so we can get that rear wheel off the ground. All right, Aiden. First step is we're going to loosen these. Actually, the first step is going to be to take the master link out of the chain. So I'm going to do that for you because that's tricky to do, but I'll show you how we do it. First, we have to find the master link in the chain. See how the chain's put together on these little pieces? Peter? Mm-hmm. So the chain's put together. All these little pins right here.
Yeah.
These pins you can't take out.
Yeah. Without
special tools. And actually you ruin the pin when you grind it to take it out. So then you got to get replacement ones. But there's one link right there. You see that link? See how that's got a clip on it? That's a special link. It's called the master link. The reason why they call it the master link is because that's the one link in this chain that you can take out, and it'll let you take the chain in two pieces. Because right now, we need to take this rear wheel off. And there's no way to take the rear wheel off if the chain's on. Okay? Now, sometimes you can push the wheel forward, pop the chain off, and off of the sprocket, and then get it to go past that way. And you know what, we could try that. We'll try that first, and if that doesn't work, then we'll take this off. I took this off last week when I was cleaning the chain, all the dirt, and oiling it and adjusting it. The chain was too long, so I took a link out, one of these links out. I ground the pin, knocked that pin out, shorten the chain. But right now, we want to get this wheel off. All right, so we'll change that. We're going to make the first step. We're going to take these little nuts right here off. These are 10 millimeter. So grab a 10 millimeter wrench. 10 millimeters small. Look how small this nut is. There you go.
10 millimeters.
All right, you do it. That's better. That's good. And those aren't really tight, so you only have to do it a few times, and then you should be able to do it with your fingers. That's good. You don't have to take it all the way off. We're just going to loosen it to make our job easier. Now you got to do the one on this side. While he's doing that, I'm going to find the right size for the axle. So 14 millimeter. So we need a 19 millimeter wrench. All right. So I got a breaker bar, which is kind of like the socket. The ratchet that we use with sockets, only it doesn't have a head on the ratchet. It's just a fix, and that's all we need because we're just gonna use it to take this off. I'm gonna switch them since the one that we really want to turn is the nut. This is a long bolt. It's called the axle bolt. It goes all the way through. It comes out this end and has a nut on this side. So what we want to do is we want to turn the nut. Okay, but when we go to turn that nut, eventually when it loosens up, this whole axle might start turning. So we got to have this on this side. So what you're going to do, first push that down to loosen it. Muscles. There you go. Now ratchet it up. Go ahead. Keep doing. Keep going. Right, that axle bolt's in there tight enough that it's not turning anyway. So it's all right. Keep going. You can take that off now. You should be able to do it with your fingers. All right, now put that up there on the board so we don't lose it. Now take this piece that you loosened off. That's the keeper, okay? That's the chain that pulls the wheel back to tighten and adjust the chain. Put that back on the board over there so we don't lose that, okay? So now we've got to undo the linkage or the brake, so hold on. All right, Aiden, so what we're going to do now, see this rod right here? Mm-hmm. This is the brake linkage. It goes over to the brake pedal. When you push down on the brake pedal, that pulls this arm forward. But the wheel and this part right here is going to come out with the wheel. So we can't have this attached. So we got to take this off. So what we do, this is a special nut. It's an adjusting nut. But it's got a curved part that sits right on there. So if we try and turn it right now, it's a little hard to turn. See how when I turn this, you see how it moves forward because it's got a curve? So what we want to do is we want to make it easier. It'll hold this forward so that you can unscrew this. So go ahead and unscrew that now. Alright, now don't lose that nut. That's a very special nut. You see how it's made with that curve in it. Alright, see that? Alright, good, good. Alright, now that this is off, with that off, we can actually pull this back. We can take this rod and disconnect it. Now we get the spring. I'm going to take the spring off and put it over here because if it falls off and we don't notice it, it could get lost. We don't want that to happen, okay? So now, with that off, we can actually push this axle out. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap that axle so it comes out. But the trick is we don't want to damage the threads on the end. If you take a hammer and you bang on this, you could damage the threads right here. And if that happens, then when we go to put this nut back on, see when I go to put this nut back on, see how nice that starts? It won't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the nut on to protect the threads, and then we're going to bang on this. Alright, what are you asking? Well, if you can take it out, you can take it out and put it in our pile. Wait, now, when you take something like that out, you look at it, make sure there's nothing unusual. Can that go in either way?
Yes.
Yeah, it can, so that's okay. If it didn't, then you'd want to make sure you notice which way it went in, so when you take it out, when you go to put it back in, you'll remember how it goes in. This hammer here is not going to hurt anything, so you can... There you go. You like that?
It's coming out. Oh.
Barely. Alright, what are you going to do now?
Take it out.
You know what would make life easier? Do you have something you can stick in there and tap on to push it through?
Oh, boy.
Here. That's why I save junk like that, just for this kind of job. Go ahead. A little harder. Now you're getting it. Oh, go ahead. Now it's going. See, the further it comes out of the hole, the less friction there is. There you go. All right, stop. That's it. It's out. Now, when we take this out, on this side, there's another piece right inside here. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that falls out. We want to make sure that if it does, we don't lose it. So now I'm going to push the wheel forward, okay? And with the wheel forward, I should be able, watch out, I should be able to get this chain to pop off. So taking the chain off, see? This gargle is on here. There we go. Alright, so now the chain is off, so we didn't have to take the master link out.
Let's get it come off.
Yeah, put this rod back in. Help you tap this all the way out. Now you can take the rod out.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Right in here is that thing I was talking about. You see how it's loose? You see it moving?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing we want to make sure we don't lose.
I'll catch it when it's falling out.
Oh, careful. Down here it's going to fall. And you see that?
Yeah.
Brake assembly?
Yeah.
You see how it's got a slot?
Mm-hmm.
When we put this back in, we're going to make sure that slot goes on that pin. Alright, so here's the thing I was worried about right there. So we're going to take that out right now. Put that off to the side. Okay?
That's going to come off soon.
Now the wheel's clear. Now we take it off like this. Wait.
I take that off.
Make sure there's no broken parts or anything that fall out. Okay.
Oh, that's good. I'll open the new one, okay?
All right. What do you got there?
This?
Yeah.
It was on the kitchen table.
Let's show the folks at home what we've got. This is SOK. SOK, that stands for somewhat okay brake pads, because the really good ones are more money, but these are just somewhat okay. Lynn Dan Brake Lining Industries. These were about $15 on eBay. These are really cheap. But they are good enough for our application.
I can do this.
Yeah, I could do this.
I got it.
The way you open this. Your daddy does the same. There you go. I'll put that. Okay. So this metal bracket, this is just the support for the brake pad. The actual part, the actual pad is this material here. See that gray stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You see how thick it is right there?
Mm-hmm.
It's not very thick, right? But compared to, look at these. You see how little those are? See the difference?
Mm-hmm.
So
I
that's
barely can see
that's what's going on. Yeah. Well, it's also hard to see because it's so dirty.
Need that spring too.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these off.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. All right.
Good Mark.
You know what I need?
What?
Mark, he was eaten by a bear. I need a.
What? What?
I need a pair of needle nose pliers to get those springs off. And I'll take the springs off because they'll hurt your fingers. All right, Aiden. Try not to get all the gum things on.
I already got it on this. But
That's why you shouldn't have been touching.
That's why it didn't come off.
Famous last words. So we're gonna get this spring is gonna go in this hole here. Hard to get up like that.
Maybe if you take the first one out.
Well, I think what we can do is we can actually take these off of the assembly altogether.
Do you need help?
Always.
If you take that, I need a lot of help. If you push that brake thing, it'll come out easier.
Look, what I'm doing is I spread these apart so that now they're up on this part here. They're clear in this part where they click in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So I'm gonna take them out as a pair. See? Get that side off. That's it, just like that. So now, with these off of that, you can see that the springs loosen up. It gets a lot easier to take these off. So what I'm going to do, see, it's clearly this goes on like this, because that round has to go where that round is. But I could flip it and put it on this side like this. Does it make a difference? No, it doesn't. That's why they didn't mark them. If it made a difference, they would have marked it front and back. By all means, put those, pick these up and put them down several times.
Just looking at them again. Well, yeah, just throw them in the pond.
Yeah. Well, the ice is melted. Head over to the pond and throw them in.
Throw yourself in there too. You could dip like this.
You could stop anytime you want.
Wow.
Well, that's springs.
They're supposed to.
Yeah, you gotta turn them a certain way. It's like a puzzle. That's it.
Now do this. With it in. Yep.
You see that little thing right there?
Mhm.
That's called the wheel bearing. Okay?
Mhm. What do we do?
Well, it's got tiny little metal balls inside, and underneath this is a rubber seal. Underneath that rubber seal, it's packed with grease that the little balls run in, and it makes this run real smooth. And we turn that, and I feel it with my finger, and I listen if I hear any bad noise coming out of it when I'm turning it. See how it sounds perfectly smooth?
Mhm.
And if I feel it, it feels nice and smooth. So I know that bearing is good. If that bearing was bad, we'd want to replace that bearing. We'd have to take this out of here. This little thing comes out as an assembly. We would put a new one in there. And they're pretty cheap, and it's not the kind of thing that you would want to not take care of. Okay? Now, before we put this in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a rag and I'm going to try and clean that brake dust off of there.
I'll hold the tire.
You don't have to hold the tire. You're going to put it down. Okay? Since your hands are filthy anyways, you might as well go throw these in the trash. Alright, let's put this back together. You have gas. Gassy issues. Oh my goodness. There we go.
Remember, put that thing right there.
Yeah, that stud right there is going to slide. It's going to slide right onto that. Perfect world.
No. Yep, good. What does that take?
Oh, forgot something.
What?
So this has grease on it. Not a lot, but some.
Does it need it?
So yeah, so we're going to put some grease. We're going to clean up as much of this dirty grease as we can. And we're going to put a little bit of fresh grease on there. So, I'll have to take my sweatshirt off.
Take it off.
Warm.
Yeah, because we're directly at the sunlight.
We're directly at the sunlight?
Or we're on the sunlight.
We're directly on the sunlight?
Mm-hmm.
Try one more time.
We're directly above the
We're directly
below,
above the sun?
Below the sunlight.
I think the word you're looking for is in.
In the sunlight.
Not in the sun lamp.
In the sunlight.
Oh, that's great. You'd get around to it eventually. Oh, that's funny.
Just last.
Alright, back to what we were doing over here. This goes in like that. There we go. Alright, we're going to put the wheel in there. You can put that on loose. Just enough so it stays on. That's good. That's good. Alright, now we're going to put the axle bolt back in.
We have the axle bolt.
Yeah.
Is this an axle bolt right here?
Nah, it looks too thin to be an axle bolt. I don't know what that was. That's something I just saved because I knew it would come in handy for this kind of work. We're putting a light film of grease on this so that it goes in a little easier.
Do you need a hammer?
Sure. Alright, so I'm just going to tap this and see if it's lined up in that hole. The slot.
Yeah. No, not yet. Good.
Okay, I can't help but notice you're putting that nut on.
Yeah.
Did I tell you to put that nut on?
No.
Alright.
Can I?
Sure, if you want to take it off again. What are you going to put on before you put the nut on?
Okay.
Actually, this one on this side's out too, look. Not going to be able to get this in now.
You need a hammer.
So, tap it back out just a little bit. I'll get this side in.
I'm not hearing the fence.
Now you can tap it with that hammer. That hammer's not going to ruin the thread. That hammer's going to rub. That's it. All right, good. Now, put the keeper on. Chain tensioner. There you go. Now put the nut on.
You hold that thing.
I'm going to put the chain on in a minute while the wheel's still loose.
Okay, still loose. Want me to loosen it some more?
No, it's all right. I got to put the bottom on first because it's got to go on the other side of this chain part. Chain's on. All right. Now we can tighten that some, but not all the way because we got to adjust the chain.
You have that thing?
What thing?
You know what?
You have it on that side.
I don't think so.
Yeah?
I got it.
I was going to say, I don't have it.
I have it.
You got to switch the ratchet. You got to unloosen it. You got to righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Did you switch it? Tighten it.
The thing's spinning.
Yeah, so what do you think we should do about that?
Put that on. Hold it.
Then do it. But you want to be able to go to school Monday and tell your goofy little friends how you put new brake shoes in the back of my motorcycle. Spent the weekend putting brake shoes in the back of the motorcycle. All right. We don't want it that tight because we have to, remember I said we have to adjust the chain. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yep.
All right then. So, that should be what?
I'll put some gas in
Yeah, in a minute, Peter. I'm in the middle of something. You have gas in there,
it. It won't. It literally barely started up over there.
but yet it started. Do you think it works on? You have to put this on, huh?
I'll put it on there.
How? You're not going to get that rod. Come on. Take it all the way out. We forgot the spring on the rod, the brake rod.
Oh, that's a little bit more.
Plus, if we push down on the brake pedal, we might be able to get the rod to go forward enough. So.
I just loosened it.
Yeah, not enough though. It's not good. Now this is loose enough. You need to pull the wheel back. Put the rod on. I mean the spring. There you go. Put the spring on the rod. All right. There you go. Move the wheel forward. There you go. That's enough because we're gonna adjust the brakes after we get the chain adjusted. All right. So for starters, we're gonna tighten this one up until we get way too loose there.
How many more?
That's close. Come on. All right, listen.
What?
Come over here and look on this side. Do you see these little bumps?
Yeah.
Counting from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that little mark?
Mm-hmm.
You see how it's lined up exactly with that? Do you see it?
I need to put this back a little bit.
Back that way?
Yeah.
Move.
No.
You've got that tight. It can't go that way. There it goes. Now it's moving. See it? That's loosening it. That's going to make it go that way more. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Okay. It's on number 4.
What? This?
There's
I
a
think
little mark right there.
Yeah.
You see it?
it's on
All right,
five.
right? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on 5. So you're going to loosen it more.
Just a little bit more.
Stop.
A little bit more. Yep, good.
This is too loose. That's a little better.
Yep.
So look good? Now, look.
Mm-hmm.
What we're looking at now is we're looking at, you see how the space right here between the knobby on the tire and the frame?
Mm-hmm.
That space right there should be the same as the space on this side. Or close to it. The other thing you could do is you could look down the back of the motorcycle and see if your wheel looks like it's straight.
Does it?
Looks pretty good. Alright.
Now we have
So,
to tighten this.
Yeah, you tighten it just a little bit though. We don't want to tighten it too much because we're going to probably adjust it some more. It's wrong. That's listening. What happens is that, alright, stop.
What happens?
What happens is the swing arm closes up on the wheel a little bit when you tighten it, which is normal.
What's this swing arm?
This arm right here that supports the whole rear wheel, this metal part right here, this big metal part goes up there, comes across, it comes down this side. Alright.
Where are you going, Daddy?
Grocery shopping. Now we need to put the motorcycle on the ground because right now the wheel's up in the air. So if we adjust the chain tension now, then what happens is when we put the weight of the motorcycle on it and this moves up, it's going to chain. I had my finger in there, you don't do that. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the board out of there. But we have all of our tools on the board. We don't want them all over the place.
Here, Daddy.
You forgot what? Good story.
This board is in the back.
See, watch, when I push down, you see how that goes down? That changes things a little bit as far as the adjustment of the chain. Not much, but a little bit. So, right now,
Is it good?
yeah. Alright, so maybe if it's 10mm wrench, we're gonna...
Up to 5, right? It goes up to 5.
Got it. No, we're not gonna tighten it that much. I tighten this one a little bit. That should be just past number 4.
Yep.
But I gotta look at it head on. I need you to move your head out of the way. You can look at it like this and make sure just a smidge more. That should about do it right there. Now we need to tighten that axle real tight, so I'll do that.
I'll do it over here.
I would need the ratchet.
You have it.
What are you doing with this ratchet? Hiding on me.
This is a motocross wheel.
Resist the temptation to touch things that you shouldn't. While I go in the house and I go find out the torque specifications for the rear axle nut.
How much did you set it for?
46 foot-pounds. That's for this motorcycle. It requires 46. So what we're going to do is, that's 51, 40, that's it, 46. So we set it right there to 46.
I didn't know what to do.
How does it know what to do?
Yeah.
Well, this wrench is very special, made special inside. So what happens is, inside here there's a part that as soon as I get to a certain amount of force on this handle, it will make a clicking noise and tell me that it's far enough. So this takes a little bit of finesse. You don't just go on and start yanking on the thing. Pull up nice and slow and easy. And actually, we're already at least 46 foot-pounds right there. You hear the click?
Yeah.
That's telling me that it's tight enough. It might even be over 46 foot-pounds, but I don't think we're over-tightened. Based on my vast experience with motorcycles over the years. I've been working on motorcycles since I was probably Peter's age. So anywho, that should take care of that. Now these little nuts that are on the chain adjusters here, they tend to loosen up.
Why?
So, well, because when you're riding, the vibration and everything can make them loosen. I prefer to actually put a second nut on there. What happens is if you turn one nut right up against the other, you hold this nut and you tighten the other one. They tighten against each other and it kind of locks it. It's not a bad idea. We might see if we can find some 10mm nuts, extra ones, to put on there.
Right now?
Well, no, we're gonna adjust the brakes and then we're gonna test drive it.
How
Or
do you
I should
just-
say I'll test drive it. So right now, you
Okay.
see there's a big difference now. Before this was way over adjusted. Now I can hold it way back here. And there's not much free play in the pedal there. That's not bad. Alright. So Daddy will test drive it.
Is it on? That bike?
I think my son meant to ask if the key was on. I'm pretty sure he realizes the bike's not on.